Hello everyone and welcome back to Ravade Reads. Yet again, I'm continuing with the Marvel Colors collection by Jeff Loeb and Tim Sale. I've already covered Daredevil Yellow and Spider-Man Blue, but you don't need to know what happens there for this story. Each of these stories are their own standalone ones, covering characters grieving the loss of a loved one, while looking back on classic stories in a somewhat new light. That being said, let's look at Hulk Gray, which I'm assuming will be different from the others because Hulk, he's not really a superhero, especially in his early days. To start off, let's look at Book 1, A is for Apple. The story begins on a rainy night with Bruce Banner, aka the Hulk, meeting with his friend/psychiatrist Doc Samson, all while seemingly hiding from someone pursuing him. While they talk, Bruce takes it back to the beginning, when the gamma bomb first went off, giving him the radiation that would cause him to transform into the Hulk. Banner created the gamma bomb for General Ross in the US military, but went out during the test to save a civilian in the blast zone named Rick Jones. Inside the facility, Ross wants to know what's happening when his daughter, Betty, who is in a relationship with Bruce, demands to know what's going on and where Bruce is. Rick takes Bruce to a nearby hospital after the incident, lying about why he was there and who they are to the doctor. The doctor that's seeing them tells Bruce that he's okay, but after he leaves, an enraged Bruce lashes out at Rick, claiming that it's his fault and something bad is going to happen as a result of him being there during the explosion, which then causes him to transform into the Hulk, who was gray before he was green. Hulk breaks out of the hospital and is attacked by a military convoy who he takes down rather quickly because he wants to be left alone. Ross gets word of this and begins his manhunt for Hulk after speaking to Betty, who Hulk sees from outside near her house. At that moment, Banner and the Hulk share the same thought of their love towards her. I thought this was a simple yet effective first issue. It sets up the traditional Hulk conflict and story without retreading too much ground, like all the stuff about him making the gamma bomb. Most people know that. And it also has some cool art choices like the black and white beginning. So yeah, let's move on to Book 2, B is for Boy. Betty, who was supposed to stay inside with the door locked, opens it to see the Hulk looking at her, and she passes out after thinking Hulk killed Banner. In the narration, Samson asks Banner introspective questions that make him think about why he saved Rick and what his intentions were to begin with. After the Hulk escapes, Ross goes to Betty to ask her questions about what happened, but she pretends to be asleep. This part gives us a good look at Ross's worldview and sort of over-focus on military and I guess his own ego. The day after, Rick finds Banner, who transformed back into, his human form, by following a trail of destruction. Banner takes Rick to a secure, hidden military area where he locks himself in some sort of high-tech box thing, I don't know what it is, and tells him not to open it unless he hears Banner, not Hulk. Hulk then tries to break out because he's the Hulk. This is another simple but good issue. Similar to the other stories, we flash back to previous events over narration in current times. By having both Samson and Banner's narration, we not only get that look into the main character's thoughts and feelings, but we also have someone for him to play off of, ask important questions, and keep the story going. Keeping in theme with the previous two titles, let's look at Book 3, C is for Cry. Sometime shortly after the last issue, Hulk broke free, and in the present day, Banner is telling Samson of the first time he remembers the Hulk killing something, which was when he accidentally killed a bunny. Elsewhere, Rick Jones is being interrogated by General Ross on information about the Hulk. When he can't get anything out of him, he goes out into the hall to meet with someone who appears to be Tony Stark, before he removes his daughter Betty from the room since she's not supposed to be there. After finding Rick's jacket out in the desert, an enraged Hulk breaks into the interrogation room to save him, but seeing that Betty is still there, he takes her and leaves instead. When Betty wakes up, she sees that someone has come to rescue her from the Hulk, Iron Man. I don't feel like this issue accomplishes as much as the previous two, but that's mainly because it feels a lot like a part 1 to this segment of the story, especially due to the cliffhanger ending with Iron Man. It just, it doesn't really feel like it's complete. Well, I want to see Iron Man and the Hulk fight each other, so let's go on to Book 4, D is for Dog. The book opens with Iron Man and Hulk battling it out. When Hulk gets the upper hand, Betty yells at him asking what he wants from her, giving Iron Man the chance to fight back. While the two fight, in the present day, Banner is telling Samson of a story he heard about an owner who traumatized his dog. Samson asks who's the dog in this analogy, Banner or Ross, and Bruce says he doesn't know the difference some days. After Betty lashes out at Hulk, it makes him angrier than ever before, and he brutally defeats Iron Man, accidentally injuring Betty in the process. Hulk takes Betty and escapes with her, with Ross coming to the scene of Iron Man's defeat. He then begins his plan to find her. Kind of wondering why this just wasn't the end of the last issue, but I guess they ran out of pages. The whole issue is just the Iron Man versus Hulk fight, with some important narration. Let's jump right into Book 5, E is for Elephant. The book begins with Hulk taking medical supplies to try and help Betty recover from the injury he accidentally gave her. In the present day narration, Bruce and Samson talk about what it's like to negotiate with the Hulk and his limited worldview. Throughout the issue, Betty tries to get Hulk to let her go, but Hulk doesn't understand. He only wants to protect her, quote unquote, whether she likes it or not. He doesn't understand that she thinks he killed Bruce, the person she loves, not knowing that Bruce is the Hulk. It ends with the surprise appearance of General Ross having discovered their location, and the two are going to battle it out. Well, we finally got a lot of Hulk and Betty interactions. This was certainly different compared to the last issue, which was so action heavy, but it was important to finally see these two have, a long interaction. As for the final issue, I'm really wondering, how things are going to end in the present day between Bruce and Doc Samson. Now it's time for the final issue, Book 6, F is for Father. Hulk attacks Ross, wanting to kill him, but Betty manages to jump in, convincing the Hulk to spare his life because she loves him. Samson and Bruce talk about just how bad General Ross was back then, if he deserved to die, and if Bruce was exaggerating any of the stories he's been telling him. After escaping from the military, Rick ends up finding the Hulk, who's now transformed back to Bruce, in the desert. He goes to the military base where Ross is to show the world that he's not actually dead like they believe. Ross lashes out at him, but Betty stops Ross, telling him that he's just as bad as the Hulk. By the end of the series, Bruce has come to the conclusion that Hulk and Ross are no different from each other, and the reason that Betty loved him was for the same reasons she loved her father. Someone broke for her to fix. Bruce, enraged, transforms into the Hulk and explodes out of Samson's office. This one was certainly depressing. Bruce coming to that conclusion that Betty always viewed him as a monster even though she loved him is just sad. I kind of wish there was a more hopeful ending instead of Bruce choosing to believe this upsetting realization, but I guess it just highlights how miserable his life can be after becoming the Hulk. So that's it for Hulk Gray. These two issues were not as action-packed as the previous two, but that's a good thing because instead we received a lot more emotion and realizations about these characters. I would recommend this book to anyone. To be honest, I do think this is the best of the Marvel Colors books so far, and like Daredevil Yellow, it's a nice contrast to the modern versions of the Hulk, specifically the MCU. You may be wondering, didn't I just read this all to you? Well, it's different if you read it on your own. There's a lot of things that I probably have left out, some that I've left out intentionally for you to go discover on your own, and you probably have your own thoughts about it. If you did enjoy, leave a like, comment, subscribe, turn on notifications, and I'll see y'all next time when I do the next book, the next series in the Marvel Colors collection, which is Captain America White. Until then, goodbye.